Hey guys, Norway is about to send Ukraine a massive shipment of F-16 ammunition and laser-guided rockets. Norway just made one of the most consequential military support decisions of the war, and almost nobody noticed. There were no dramatic unveilings, no new platforms rolling off the transporters, and no viral clips designed to dominate social media. Instead, Norway quietly funded one of the most difficult parts of modern warfare: sustained air defense and airpower logistics. On the surface, the announcement looks unremarkable. It includes F-16 ammunition, laser-guided missiles, long-range weapons, and surface-to-air missiles, all procured through a U.S. mechanism with an acronym that sounds more like a consulting framework than a wartime pipeline: Jumpstart. Boring, but taken together, this package reveals something important about how Norway understands this war, and why that understanding matters. Hey friends, Wes here, and Ukraine is finally entering a new phase of air warfare. Western aircraft are arriving, F-16s are turning and burning MAV.
Still close for missiles, Goose. I'm switching to guns.
Gripens are coming this year, air defense networks are maturing, integration with NATO standard systems is accelerating. At the same time, Russia has adjusted its strategy accordingly, relying less on precision dominance and more on saturation, mass, and attrition. This creates a paradox. As Ukraine's capabilities improve, the pressure on the logistics increases. Aircraft without ammunition are inert. Air defense systems without interceptors become liabilities rather than assets. Advanced platforms require continuous flow of consumables just to remain operational. Norway's contribution directly targets that problem. Now, the Norwegian government is allocating approximately 3.2 billion kroner, or roughly 300 million US dollars, through the Jumpstart mechanism to procure weapons and munitions for Ukraine. Jumpstart is built on the U.S. foreign military sales framework, which allows allied governments to purchase complete systems and munitions directly from the U.S. Department of Defense, rather than navigating the fragmented commercial supply chain. That distinction matters. It reduces delivery time, it avoids compatibility issues, and it ensures that what arrives can be used immediately. We all know that in the Ukraine war, timing often matters more than novelty, and that efficiency is decisive. So I want to be clear here, this is the big headline. A significant portion of the funding is dedicated to F-16 ammunition. Now, Norway never says APKWS in the press release. It says funding an advanced precision weapon system that converts low-cost missiles into precision-guided munitions for use by aircraft or ground-based air defense systems. That description fits the U.S. WGU-59 Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System 2, better known as APKWS, perfectly. Now, this system is a guidance kit that turns a standard 2.75-inch 70mm Hydra rocket into a laser-guided precision weapon. We've talked about APKWS before on my channel, and it keeps coming up because it is like the perfect drone hunting weapon. And it's not even a fancy new missile, it is a clever upgrade to an old rocket. You take a cheap common 70mm rocket and add a mid-body guidance section. You then get a semi-active laser-guided weapon that can hit point targets without paying premium Lockheed Martin missile prices. That matters in Ukraine because the air war is turned into an economics problem. Russia throws all those shaheds and decoys at Ukraine all night long. Ukraine cannot answer every slow drone with a gold-plated Fabergé egg interceptor and pretend the math works out. So the practical appeal is simple. APKWS gives Ukraine a middle-weight option. More precise than unguided rockets, more precise than bullets, far cheaper than air-to-air missiles, and still lethal enough to kill the kinds of targets that dominate this war. Performance lists the ranges at roughly 1.2 to 6.8 miles, around 2 to 11 kilometers, with semi-active laser guidance. It also notes that the F-16 variant of the APKWS-2 was actually first used in combat in June of 2016. So the question of, can the F-16 even use this, is already answered. If APKWS is part of what Norway is buying, and based on the description, I would give it a 99% chance. It plugs a real gap for Ukraine. It continues that flow of F-16 ammunition that can knock out shaheds. It keeps the magazine filled. Ukraine doesn't have to now keep switching to guns. It gives F-16s a way to prosecute targets that do not deserve a $400,000 missile. That includes light vehicles, small boats, firing points, air defense support gear, and the endless collection of war stuff Russia parks in the open field because it still thinks camouflage is a vibe. APKWS is described as optimized for low collateral precision strikes against moving or stationary light vehicles and personnel targets. It also creates a path toward the F-16 as a drone killer mission set. Air and Space Forces notes that an F-16 destroyed an airborne target using APKWS in an anti-cruise missile demonstration. Ukraine has used them numerous times against Shaheds, and Air and Space describes follow-on counter-UAS work that led to an enhanced variant concept. Ukraine's reality is constant drone pressure. Any air-to-air solution that can be fired in volume without lighting money on fire changes how long Ukraine can sustain the fight. Also, APKWS works nicely with how Ukraine already fights. Mixed sensors, distributed targeting, and lots of improvisation. Semi-active laser guidance means somebody needs to paint the target. That can be done by the launching aircraft or by another platform, including ground teams. In Ukraine, buddy lasing is not a buzzword. It is a survival technique. Somebody on the ground spots the Shahed and laces it with a laser designator. The F-16 then engages it with the APKWS and hits it. So how does this kill chain work for Ukrainian F-16s? Well, semi-active laser guidance means the rocket homes in on reflected laser energy. Someone must designate the target with a laser designator and the rocket rides that spot. In a clean scenario, an F-16 uses its own targeting pod to find, identify, and laze. In a more Ukrainian scenario, a forward team, a drone operator, or another aircraft designates, and the F-16 launches from a standoff geometry that keeps it out of the worst short-range air defense envelope. This is also where APKWS fits Ukraine's small teams. Small teams, fast loop style. You're not building a one-off strike package around a single missile. You're building repeatable, cheap precision. Now, there are some limitations we need to talk about. APKWS is not a magic wand. It needs laser designation, so smoke, weather, and obscurance can complicate the shot. It also means there is a real coordination requirement between the shooter and the designator. Its range is useful, but not long in fighter terms. The published range band tops out around 6.8 miles. That pushes the F-16 closer than it would like if Russia has layered air defenses in the area. Its warhead options exist, but it's still a 70mm class weapon. This is not what you pick to crater a hardened bunker or delete a bridge span. It is for targets that are common, exposed, and worth killing cheaply. So here's why Norway buying these makes strategic sense. Norway's money is doing something very Norwegian here. It is paying for practical warfighting, not podium speeches. If you want Ukraine's F-16s to earn their keep, you don't just give them jets, you give them munitions they can afford to fire often. You give them weapons that keep the sky clean of drones and keep Russian pressure down without draining Ukraine's most expensive interceptors. APKWS sits in that sweet spot. It turns volume into precision, and it lets Ukraine save higher-end missiles for higher-end threats. Ukraine's ability to integrate F-16s into combat operations depends less on the aircrafts themselves and more on the predictable access to weapons, spare parts, and maintenance cycles. Norway is ensuring that Ukraine doesn't acquire a Western airframe without the logistical depth to sustain it. And that is a big deal, folks. Oh, Norway is also financing the purchase of S-300 surface-to-air missiles for Ukraine. Now, that system is Soviet-era, but Ukraine has extensive experience operating it, and it remains deeply embedded in the country's air defense architecture. Supporting systems that Ukrainian crews already know how to use avoids the retraining delays and preserves continuity under pressure. In this case, replenishing interceptors is more valuable than introducing an entirely new system. Now, this approach aligns with Norway's broader strategy under the Nansen Support Program, which is deliberately structured as a multi-year commitment. The goal is not episodic assistance, but sustained support that allows Ukraine to plan ahead rather than react to political cycles. Norwegian officials have been explicit about that logic. Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store emphasized that Ukraine depends on ongoing military support to defend its sovereignty, while Defense Minister Tor Sandvik highlighted the need for both low-cost weapons available in large quantities and more advanced missiles capable of countering high-performance threats like cruise missiles. That distinction, the one they made, reflects operational reality. Different threats, demand different economics. Saturation drones and cruise missiles cannot be countered sustainably with one high-end interceptor. Yet, abandoning long-range defenses would expose critical infrastructure. Norway's package addresses both ends of that spectrum. It also reinforces the role of NASAMS, the Norwegian-made air defense system that has become a reliable component of Ukraine's layered air defenses. Previous Norwegian and U.S. donations of NASAMS have demonstrated consistent effectiveness, and continued funding ensures that these systems remain supplied rather than becoming hollow platforms waiting for resupply. Taken together, Norway's actions illustrate a form of support that is easy to overlook but difficult to counter. This is not about a symbolic escalation or a headline-driven donation. It is about maintaining sortie rates, preserving interceptor inventories, and denying Russia the ability to exhaust Ukraine's defenses through sheer volume. Germany donates because its security environment demands it. Poland donates because geography and history leave no alternative. Norway's contribution reflects a different perspective, one grounded in logistics, systems integration, and long-term endurance. Wars are not won by isolated breakthroughs. They are won when one side's systems continue to function while the others begin to fail, under sustained pressure. Norway is investing directly in that margin. This package does not change the war overnight, but it ensures that Ukraine's air defenses remain operational tomorrow, next month, and in the next year. It shows that support is no longer improvised, but institutionalized. And that is precisely the kind of support that Russia finds hardest to disrupt. That's why this Norwegian donation is a big deal. That's it for today, my friends. If you found this analysis useful, consider subscribing. It's free, and it helps me prove to my high school guidance counselor that making videos in my basement where I share my opinion is a viable career option. Sounds depressing when you say it like that. Anyways, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and as always, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Crimea is Ukraine.